you saw the very best players the entire country has to offer, and you saw it throughout the course of the weekend.
He's growing, he's improving at such a rapid rate. He's going to be a very good player.
This guy's a cross between Sean Marion and Lamar Odom. He's a 6'8" lefty, a high-level athlete, but also got a little bit of point-forward skills in him as he can handle and pass the ball extremely well. At this point, they are simply the standard by which everyone else is judged in prep school basketball. He's considering the likes of Michigan, North Carolina, Kentucky, Kansas.
Welcome back to the Upside Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Finkelstein, and this week's guest is new Grand Canyon head coach Bryce Drew. Coach, thanks so much for making the time to join us.
Hey, thank you. We go back years. Back when my assistant days, I'd be hounding you a lot on the phone trying to find out who the hot prospects were back east.
Yeah, we're hopefully I was able to help. And again, thank you. I know you got a ton of stuff going on, so appreciate you making this time. And we both have the same haircut, not intentionally, but just because neither one of us can get one. So wanted to get right into it and ask you. I know that it's been in the news. Everybody's, the coronavirus, one of the things that's going on nationally right now. People are in different stages with it, not just geographically across the country, but on the micro level within their team, trying to prepare for it. You guys have had a pretty intense situation with it already. So I wanted to get the latest on that and see if you could update us to how everybody in your program's doing.
It came really quickly. We got several players back to campus, and, within a week, we got tests back and had some positive tests, and then, some more came. So our school has been fantastic with their testing, with the protocol. We immediately quarantined the team. And, the last group of the quarantine is getting out today. So, they're going to be running around campus, jumping up and down, a lot of energy they've had in that quarantine area. But it's definitely been challenging. I think especially for the young men, they're so active, and all of a sudden now they have to stay quarantined for, whether it be 10 days, 14 days, very difficult for them.
As I've talked to coaches about whether it's the protocols in place or because there's certainly a geographic element to when kids are coming back to campus. And so you talk to different coaches in different parts of the country and they're at different stages. But, the theme that seems consistent across the board is everybody saying, listen, we can do everything possible in our gym. We can disinfect the balls. We can disinfect the weights. What we don't have control over is what these 18 to 23-year-old young men are doing when they leave the gym. And that's not to say they're doing anything irresponsible or reckless, but just that they're 18 to 23 years old. And in some ways it's a microcosm for what we're seeing nationally. And so there's an educational component to it that goes about it as well. Have you guys had a chance to dive into that, or will that come kind of when you guys are all able to get back together?
We've been doing that since before they came on campus. We are going through, distancing and, all the sanitation that was going to be going on. And, pretty much immediately, again, we tested positive. So we're just getting back, to, some of those voluntary workouts or opening the facilities for, players to come in and shoot. And so all of those guidelines, they know about, we have them posted, that they're following, that the school's following. It spreads so quickly. And that's something, if you're a coach out there and your team hasn't come to campus yet, again, it spreads so quickly. So, and at the end of the day, what you said, they're 19-year-old, 20-year-old, college students, they want to hang out. They want to be together and do things together. And so it's really hard, even though you talk about distance and spacing, because several athletes had no symptoms. They felt completely fine, nothing wrong at all, and running and working out, and they test positive. And
even so when they were exerting themselves, they had no symptoms?
No symptoms at all, and felt completely fine. And so that's what's so strange is, but then, they have it. And so just with so much unknown, at this time about it.
Right. This had to be particularly challenging for you because while the coronavirus kind of slowed down the annual coaching carousel, if you will, this is, you just took over a brand new program. So you're trying to build relationships with your guys, and now you have, you came into it and the coronavirus was this huge issue. Did that impact your ability to connect with them, or how did how did that dynamic impact things?
It's amazing with technology, just with Zoom, with the phone, FaceTime, how much you can build a relationship. It's kind of like recruiting without the face visit. And that's kind of what it feels like now. It's just, it's difficult not being on the floor with guys and being able to build that relationship. Because I think that's where that true relationship comes, is when you can, be on the floor, sweating and practicing and you feel getting better. And right now, you can't do any of that. So, I don't think it'll truly feel like, the relationship that I would want coming into a situation until we can get out on the floor and go through some practices and some workouts together.
And of course, the other major issue nationally that's affecting everybody, and certainly college basketball in particular, is the social justice, different issues that have gone on since George Floyd's murder. And how is that? The commitment I've made is to ask every coach publicly about that, how they're addressing that with their team, not just initially, but ongoing. That's just one more thing that's got to be complicated. I think it's complicated in general, but when you come in and these are all guys that you haven't coached before, it's got to be that much more complicated, I would imagine.
And we've had some terrific conversations. We've had some Zoom calls with our whole program, and let some guys speak. We've gone over some different ideas, things that we could do as a team. And the great thing is that one, change is needed and change is happening, which is great for the whole world. And then second, it doesn't cost money. We can do things within our power to help change without it costing 1 cent. And I think that's something, as we look to our program, first, we're a school of faith. So it's something that we can take as a program to prayer, for social injustice and for unity in our country. And the next thing is we can actually put that into practice. And I think there's no better place than a locker room, because in a locker room, you have all types of races, people from all over the world that come together. And it's a great space that you can join together, lock arms, and then go out and hopefully affect people, watching us play, or how we live on campus, because, a lot of times athletes are known on campuses.
Sure. A couple different things I want to ask you about, but I'm going to go back to the very beginning here. You grew up the son of a coach, son of a Hall of Fame coach, obviously coaching family. Brother's a head coach at Baylor. Brother-in-law is a basketball coach. Was it all basketball all the time for you? I know you were a tremendous player growing up in Indiana before you played for your dad at Valpo. Were you an early specializer in basketball, or was it not what people might imagine?
As I look back, it was such a blessing to be in the gym at 4 years old and be able to go shoot and run, whenever I wanted to. And I think growing up, sports, I didn't know anything different. That's just what I knew. That was my playground. Baseball is actually my favorite sport. And
really?
So I got a little bit older. So my grandpa on my mom's side was a scout for the Phillies. And so he had some pretty cool baseball scouting stories he would tell me. Got to pitch batting practice to Babe Ruth. Some pretty cool stuff. So baseball was kind of my first passion. But that quickly, as I got into junior high and high school, switched to basketball. And I pretty much, dropped baseball completely and just focused on basketball.
And now I know you have a 6-year-old son. One of the things that's interesting to me as I was doing my due diligence for this, your wife is a very accomplished, and correct me because I don't know all the terminology, but she's a dancing instructor at this point. Is that right? But used to be a performer as well?
Yeah, so she was a ballerina, and she went to the Olympics of ballet, international ballet contest, and it was a semifinalist. So she was very talented in that. She went on to dance for the Atlanta Hawks, and that's actually where she met. I was playing for the Charlotte Hornets. She was dancing for the Atlanta Hawks. So we actually met, didn't date for a couple years, and then a couple years later dated, and ended up getting married. So the great thing about her background is she's been traveling and touring. She toured with the world's largest Christian ballet company, which is owned by her parents. And so she would travel all the time and meet different people. And so it's really great being, a coach's wife. She understands recruiting, being around, different people, on different occasions. And so that's really fit in nicely, her background with my profession.
The coach's lifestyle isn't too much, because that's a real thing. It's not easy to be a coach's wife. And so if she's got some sort of baseline for how flexible you need to be. That's got to be huge. Were there commonalities between you being a young basketball star, her being a young dancing star, that and I'm getting into the weeds a little bit, but this is kind of stuff that interests me, just as a parent myself. And does that shape you? Was there a connection there? Does that shape how you guys view parenting now at all?
I think, you go to any parents out there, you're going to probably disagree about some things and agree on other things. And I think for us, the biggest foundation is our faith. We try to parent what our faith tells us how to live. So that's our biggest tool. It does help. She comes from a background, of discipline and of training, athletically, because dancers are pretty athletic, I found out. And so that helps, I think, from that we have an active lifestyle. So we're in agreement with that, that we want our boy to be active and get out and enjoy sports and, being around people.
Now, when you were a player, so obviously you had a great high school career, you chose to play for your dad. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because internet research is unreliable, but you had opportunities to play at the high major level and chose to play for your dad at Valpo. Is that right?
I did. And, I think at the end of the day, my brother put the squeeze on me. He wasn't going to let me ever come back.
He can recruit.
At the end of the day, I wasn't welcome back in the house if I didn't go play for him. He was the assistant at the time.
That's funny.
But I think when it really boiled down to the end of the day, I had a lot of schools recruiting me, and some wanted me as a shooting guard, some wanted me as a combo, some wanted me as a point guard. I knew that if I was going to make the next level, the NBA, which was my ultimate goal, at my size, I needed to have the ball in my hands to be able to show that I could do different things. And so that was a big reason, why I chose to go play for my dad at Valpo is I was able to get the ball in my hands from day one. I was able to run ball screens. I was able to be on the court, play through mistakes. And it really helped me. Like I fully feel if I'd have gone to, one of these Power 5 schools that recruited me, I don't think I'd have made the NBA because I wouldn't have had the ball in my hands and been able to improve that much, during the course of my career.
There's got to be lessons or themes that you can draw on from that experience as you recruit now to a place like Grand Canyon, which is a prominent mid-major program. Are those stories or themes things that you can actively utilize now?
For sure. All through my coaching career, every school I've been to, we've gone to the NCAA tournament. We've had NBA players at every school I've been to. And, that's what we want to do, at Grand Canyon is we want to get to NCAA tournaments and, we want to have pro players. So that's the goal. That's why we're here. This school is just bursting at the seams. It's unbelievable, the growth that this school has had. And I just can't wait to get a normal setting to experience our crowd and our fans and just everything that GCU has to offer.
So I'm based out in Connecticut. I know very little about Grand Canyon, but I think the thing that everybody knows, you turn on SportsCenter and you see the crowd. I mean, that's the thing that I think nationally may correlate to the brand right now. Is that been a big selling point for you, or what are the beyond that? I guess 2-part question. Beyond that, what is there about this job and this opportunity that attracted you so much and will attract potential student athletes?
My wife and I did not know much about, the university, and we had vacationed in Phoenix years ago, and, we both, had an awesome time, loved it out here. And so when the job opened and, we were able to talk to them and they invited us to come to campus, pretty much after the tour, my wife looks over at me. And again, we
read this article.
And she was like, if they offer you this job, you better take it.
Oh, really? Okay. Because the article reads like the article I read on the Atlantic was she was looking at you and she's like, oh, he's taking this. Like she could see the spark or something.
Yeah, that was later on, but she was like, yeah, if they offer it, you better take it. So, it's a beautiful campus. It's a destination spot, Phoenix. People move here and retire here for a reason. Yeah, and when you throw in the passion that they have for basketball, I'm from the Midwest, and Indiana is one of the hotbeds in all the country of basketball, and the passion that these fans have here, I can't wait to experience, because the videos are just incredible when you see what they do for these games.
When it comes to taking over a job in a somewhat new region, how do you go about defining your recruiting philosophy, especially geographically? I'm sure that there was probably a plan A and now there's a plan B, given the implications of the coronavirus. But what did that look like? Do you still want to recruit the Midwest? Do you have to kind of anchor yourself out to the West Coast more? What does that look like?
At the end of the day, and you've been in this a long time, it's fit. Sometimes certain recruits might have family in a certain area.
Sure.
They just might want to get to a certain area. And I think the great thing about Phoenix is it's such a destination spot. Everyone wants to vacation here. Right. So, I believe that we can recruit, not just nationally, but also globally. And, we've already been able to, sign, 4 international players since we've gotten the job. And so we feel like this is just a great place that you can draw, players from anywhere. You can also lose players from anywhere, like any program, but I do think we can go nationally because of the city and because the weather is such a fun place to live.
Yeah, no doubt. Are those guys, those international guys, are they on campus yet, or is that still working itself out?
They're all here. So we have a young man from
great.
Australia, one from Denmark, Ukraine, and then Canada, and they're all on campus. So that's been really good to get them all here, and they're not going anywhere right now. We're keeping them here.
Right. Now I've got to ask you one more question about your college playing days, because just as I said, the crowd can be what people remember about Grand Canyon when they see it on SportsCenter or whatever. I think I'm just going to speak for me. When someone talks to me, says, "Oh, Bryce Drew's playing career," I'm like, "Well, the shot," and everybody remembers the shot in the NCAA tournament, the game winner against, it was Ole Miss, I believe.
Yep.
Now I'm curious about this is the old coach in me coming out, because I'm not sure. I mean, I would imagine this is something that your family must laugh about, because that play, I now see so many teams run that. That's like everybody's last second, down to under 5 seconds left. Like everybody runs that play. Like it's in every. How many times have you seen another team run that play since you made that shot? And had you ever seen it? Had you ever seen it before? Did your dad borrow that from somebody?
He got it from the Indiana Pacers, and so it was called Pacer. And usually I'll get about probably 1 or 2, emails a year that will have the clip of how the team won the game, on that play. And it goes from like junior high to like high school, junior college. And it's really neat, just to see. And there's different variations. I remember years ago, Cincinnati ran a variation of it, but they dunked it at the buzzer, a little different ending than shooting it. They actually dunked it. Yeah. And so it's been really neat through the years to see the variations and get the couple videos I get every year sent to me and see how other teams have won games on it.
Right. So your playing career, you ended up, correct me if I'm wrong, 6 years in the NBA, and then was it 1 year abroad after that?
Yes, 1 year. Rex Walters, if you remember that name, was coaching with my dad at Valpo, and he ended up taking another job. And so my dad had an opening kind of right the end of year 1 in Europe, and I knew I wanted to coach. Right. And the timing was just really good to step in and start coaching right then.
And then you were your dad's assistant and the associate head coach. You take over the program at Valpo. You have tremendous success. Just again, nerdy coaching question. Did you just adopt the vast majority of your father's system at that point, or was there a gradual or like an organic evolution that went along with kind of his program to your program, or did you just change it all in day one?
No, it was the second part. There was a lot of the blueprint is we kept the same. He won a lot of games, was really successful. And then I think as the game was changing, we brought in some stuff from the NBA that I did, some stuff over in Europe, and kind of just as the game was adapting, we adapted to the game. So, he allowed me as assistant coach. I got to do a lot of the offense. So we were already implementing some of that stuff in, before I took over. So the transition was very smooth for the players.
Now you have a tremendous run there, and then you get hired to go to Vanderbilt. You make the NCAA tournament in your first year, and then what I wanted to talk to you about is recruiting philosophy again at Vanderbilt. This is one of the things that I've noticed as a recruiting analyst, so to speak, is guys get high major jobs, and there's like an initial decision that they have to make. They have to say, okay, are we going to try and go toe to toe with the Blue Bloods? Or are we just going to kind of admit that's a battle we can't win and try and get base hits? One of the things that I find interesting is that most of the schools that decide they're going to go toe-to-toe with the Blue Bloods, lots of times they don't have a contingency plan. So they might make the top, they might make top 5, top 3, but if they don't get that guy, then they're in some real trouble. You made the decision to go head-to-head, and you got 2 of them. You got Darius Garland and Simi Shitu, and unfortunately, both of those guys suffered major injuries. Unfortunately, to say the least. Yeah, that's insensitive wording of the day from me. But Simi in his last year at Vermont tore his ACL, and then Darius, or I think it was a November game against Kent State, he had a meniscus injury, and obviously that just derailed the season. But I was curious about that choice to say, hey, we're going to go after. I mean, those were 5-star McDonald's All-American guys, and Vanderbilt's not traditionally a program that you associate with recruits of that stature. So I was just curious about that decision.
Yeah, and that's a very deep question with a lot of ways to go on it. I would say some of the difficulties is we did not inherit a deep roster at the time, and recruiting to Vanderbilt with the changing of times with grad transfers. With kids reclassing, we couldn't really do that stuff. And so
that's the way a lot of people build that initial bridge. Yeah.
And so basically it's like we're having to go young. And so we took the approach, what you said, we were like, we want to go out, we want to recruit against Duke, we want to recruit against Kentucky. And, we feel like we can get these guys. And, we were able to do it. The bad part is we just weren't deep enough, and we weren't along enough in our program that we could sustain injuries. And, we were 4-0, had beaten Liberty, a round of 32 team, Winthrop.
And Simi's already hurt, just to put it in context. Yeah, he's not 100%.
ACL, yeah, he came back. He got cleared a couple weeks before season.
But he wasn't himself.
No,
I mean, he wasn't 100%. Yeah.
And I admire him because he played when he was not ready.
Right.
He wanted to be out there so bad. And so then Darius got hurt. But going back, again, I would do the same thing. And, that's the approach we have here at GCU is we're going after guys, that are being recruited by Power 5 conferences. And we feel like we can offer them enough things here and even better things here than they'll get, at Power 5s. And so, that one setback isn't going to deter, our recruiting philosophy and us building a program. And the interesting thing that next year at Vandy, we had 2 top 30 kids that we were real close to getting in that follow-up year. And so we showed that we could recruit it there. So we feel like we can do the same thing here.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I think that, everybody likes to play revisionist histories when they craft their narrative. But that's the thing. I mean, to get both of those kids at the time you got them was I think unexpected. And I mean, it really it turned the recruiting landscape on its head. I mean, that was not and almost you could make the argument that it's been a little bit of a trendsetter, because I think that was at a time when Duke and Kentucky were getting everybody. I mean, they between those 2 schools, they might have 7 to 9 of the top 10 kids in the country. And it's not really like that anymore. Obviously, they still get their guys, but guys are going to different places. So now the recruiting philosophy at GCU, you talked about how you're going to go international. Is there a certain style of play that is going to resonate with you, or what is the priority when you look for fit? Because I know you mentioned fit earlier.
Yeah, I think our campus is so unique because we are a school of faith, and we're growing. In 2008, there were 1,000 students on campus. 12 years later, 24,000 students on campus. Wow. And so, again, this school is just bursting with the vision of our president and the direction that we're going. So, for us, we want to fit the school. We want young men because there's no football here. Our basketball players are very visible on campus. You know, everything's within a 10 to 15 minute walk. So, you know, we want student athletes that really represent our school and our program, you know, in the way that we want to be representing the mission of the school. Then, you know, next is we want to play, you know, faster. The West Coast seems to be a little bit more transition game than the Midwest or the East. And so it's a little more open. So we will be able to get up and down the floor a little bit more. And then, you know, I've had, I think, 3 top 50 defenses the last 5 years. And so, you know, we're going to try to really lock in and defend how my teams have defended in the past.
Gotcha. When you talk about how much will the style of play, will it be a continuation of what people saw at Valpo and Vanderbilt, or will it be something unique in addition to the tempo you just mentioned? Yeah,
you know, it'll be at Valpo. You know, I was able to recruit different classes to build up to get that whole roster.
Sure.
You know, at Vanderbilt, we never really got to that position.
Right.
You know, and so, you know, at GCU, we're going to try to the roster that we have. We're going to try to put them in the best situations for them to be successful. And then as we go out and recruit and bring more players in, you know, we want to be able to, you know, definitely, you know, get guys that can defend at a high level, but also can get up and down the court and get out and transition a little bit more than what we did at Vanderbilt.
Now, last question, and I ask this of everybody. It's slightly random, but favorite book, and I give everybody a lateral if they need it. They can opt out to a movie or a podcast, but if you're not watching film, or last year, you know, you were working for ESPN calling games, potentially had, although people don't understand how much preparation goes into calling games, but if you had an opportunity to digest something other than basketball, are you 100% basketball guy? I know you mentioned baseball earlier, but if you have a chance to read something, watch something, what's that typically entail?
Well, I got a 6-year-old, so if I'm watching, it's Disney Plus. That's an easy one. So Disney Plus is like the greatest thing on Apple and on TV right now.
Yeah, my wife said that to me the other day. She's like, "Did you get it yet?" I was like, "No." She's like, "Don't you work for ESPN?" I was like, "You'd think like we could get the Disney Plus thing." You know, like, that's so Disney Plus is the answer. I can relate.
Disney Plus, and then reading the Bible, you know, especially in these times with everything going on in our world, and just being locked up in our house or office a lot. Been reading a lot of Psalms, with some of David went through in the Old Testament and some trials. And again, those have really been speaking to my heart.
Great. Well, Coach, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. We're very happy to hear that the guys are getting healthy and that quarantine is going to be over soon, and appreciate your time. Wish you the best of luck building up GCU.
And Adam, we got to get you out here. So when you want to get out that snow,
anytime somebody wants me to come to Phoenix, I'm all for it.
In January, let's fly you out and let you enjoy some palm trees for a couple days.
Sign me up. All right, Coach. Thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Adam.